Alright, welcome back to Just Magic the Gathering. At this point I'm recording this as an auxiliary voiceover as I lost the initial audio track or voiceover when I recorded. The main reason I was doing this was there was a couple things that happened in the games that I wanted to, highlight. One of them was a new card that I think will help improve my deck, or my life gain deck, and the other was the Walls of Bossing Save being used. So both games I thought were interesting. I win one and I lose one. And let's see how an auxiliary voiceover goes. My hand looks pretty good. I can play most of it. I have a kill card and 3 lands. Plus enough to get my draw engine up and going. They are playing, looks like mono green at this point. I'm contemplating whether I should get a creature out or kill their creature. Decide to go for the kill. I want to get my Enduring Innocence up before my Alchemist Assistant because that way I can get the extra card off of it. That was my reasoning behind that. It does look at this point that they're basically playing an entire, Death Touch deck. The Predator Ooze is a card I'm not as familiar with. But it has indestructibility, so I need something like my Nowhere to Run to kill it as long as it stays under a 3/3. At this point I was almost looking for more land. The Authoritative Council definitely helps for keeping my life up. Doesn't make sense for me to block the Indestructible. So I just block the 1 point of damage and take the cast back for future. Could have... I was wondering if I could have tapped manually there, but it doesn't actually look like it. Watching the replay, it's a lot easier for me to spot my mistakes. That's one thing worth mentioning. I wasn't familiar with the robot here. They're definitely starting to get wider than me, and it kind of makes me a little concerned. But the one thing about the lifelink deck, as long as they can't keep me from gaining life with something like the Screaming Nemesis, then it's really hard to shut down this deck. And Keeper's Talent is one that I've definitely seen before. It gets a 1/1 counter on a creature he controls every turn, and for 1 he can get Ward 1 on all of his creatures. So every time the Ooze attacks, it pumps up with a counter. The one thing about my Dragon is that I can remove those counters in a pinch. It has definitely helped me before. Here I'm just verifying that. If it becomes a 4/4 and I get my... Nowhere to Run, then it doesn't do me any good, so I need a way to be able to strip counters. this point I was just going for the life gain. I'm surprised he actually didn't block it with his indestructible there. As I was tapped out, it's not like I had much up my sleeve. He has an Rogue's Passage, so he's looking to drop poison counters by pushing through. And the one that he's using actually drops 2 poison counters per hit. I have definitely thought about building out a poison deck. Since one's indestructible and one can't be blocked, just let it through. At this point I play my dragon and remove the counters from the ooze. I can also give something like Vincent or my dragon lifelink with my alchemist assistant. I'm not sure that trade was actually worth it. I did get the counter on Vincent. He's going to push through for another 2 poison counters. If he keeps his ooze for blocking, then, I mean, the indestructibility is really nice. As you can basically block anything at that level. So the 3/3 I'm going to block with my 4/4. But once again, 2 more poison counters bleed through. I send my land to the bottom because at this point I'd like creatures or have a fair amount of land. So here's where I should have used this as an instant after I attacked. Going back to retrospect on watching back play is interesting. There's definitely points where I can improve my game. And there I should have actually given my dragon the lifelink because Vincent got lifelink when he transformed. In fact, it's a lot easier to see my mistakes when I watch the game back. That's actually the first time I've gotten Mook's Valor to play, and I got 3/1/2 lifelinks out of the deal. The Ouroboros is a game changer. I thought at the beginning of your upkeep, but it's at the beginning of your combat. It drops the X +1/+1 counters where that's its power. So next round it's going to drop 6 counters on everything. But this is the game changer. I got the bond, so when I gain life, he takes damage. And I have enough lifelink out that it doesn't matter even if he blocks, that it's gonna kill him. And I don't think he realizes that, so I just push. In fact, that dragon doesn't have lifelink, and I could have fixed that. But I just healed 4, and that has 4 life. So that was game. Pretty clean. I was worried there for a minute, that's for sure, especially with the Ouroboros coming out. And yeah, leveled my pass, got 2 packs, but I just jump into the next game. And this one, I wanted to show as well because that's a loss, and not only do they use the wall of bossing say, they have the card draw mechanic that I think can improve my lifelink deck. So I'm not terribly happy with it because I can't really play creatures until 3, but I keep it because I have the mana to do everything. Getting an Authority of Councils out at the beginning looks good, and it almost looks like he's running a life gain. And normally like this pairs with something like that, where you get the counters. Every time I gain life, it gets a +1/+1 counter. The Hallowed Priest. So that is a threat, for sure. It's like the Leonin Pridemate that does the same thing. I was trying to quite remember the name of it. There's a couple that fall into that same category of I gain life, my creatures get bigger. In some ways, he is playing a deck that mirrors my own. So here he plays the Requiem Monolith, and he can tap it to deal 1 point of damage to his creature and draw 1 card and take 1 damage. And he uses that really effectively through this entire game for a card draw mechanic. Here's me looking at that like, what is this card? It's from the Spider-Man, or not the Spider-Man set, the set before it. I'm drawing a blank for the moment. Once again, damages his own creature, draws the card. At this point, he definitely has card advantage on me. Uses Sheltered by Ghosts, grab my Revenant. At this point, I'm actually getting mana heavy. Do I need anything other than mana at this point? Need mana like I... But with that being said, I do just play it out and see how it goes. Again, he's not going to push because I can kill it. And I actually don't recognize that land. Just did him 1 point of damage to come in untapped. And Golden Sidekick, who I'm very familiar with. So that's going to start, yeah, making all the cards in his hand stronger. Here, maybe I should have killed his Golden Sidekick because he keeps pumping things up. But I wanted my Revenant back. He got the Phyrexian Arena out, so he actually gets 2 cards at the start of his upkeep. Remember that he has a nice card draw engine going. Plays a land that gets him life, which gets him a +1/+1 counter on a creature in his hand. There I'm looking at the monolith again going, I like the looks of that. And there's the Argent Pridemate I was talking about. Every time he gains life, that's going to get a +1/+1 counter. Here I get my Golden Sidekick. He doesn't want to block because... But I don't have anything to drop those counters on in my hand. So in a way that was not that effective. In hindsight, I was actually wondering if I should have probably not attacked there, because then I could have blocked at least with one of my death touches. And done a trade, because at this point I could have traded a 2/3 for a 3/3. We just did a board wipe. Which in a way puts me in a bind because I don't have any creatures left to getting creatures, and at this point, he has a whole handful of cards, and I have 1 mana to play. Like, yeah, does not look very promising for me. I was wondering about just conceding at this point. It's like, I do in some ways fight frustration with mana magic sometimes. It's like, oh yeah, another mana, last thing I needed. But with that being said, just continue. And my expectation is at this point, with a whole handful of cards, he has something like a Sheltered by Ghosts, the Bloodthirsty Conqueror. He has a 5/5 Death Touch that whenever he gains life, I lose that much life. I was wondering about actually using the Death Touch lifelink, but I want to be able to shut down his Conqueror if he pushed. But Stasis Snare, which is no real surprises there. Figured with a whole handful of cards he has some sort of control. And at this point I'm pretty sure I'm gonna lose the game. But I played it out. Going back to, I'm looking to play cards and was looking to knock out my blacks for my daily. Although at this point I had already gotten it, I only needed 1 more to finish. And another mana. That was basically the nail in the coffin. I don't have any board wipes or huge control. So yeah, now when he gains life, and that was the kicker. The Wall of Bossing Say, an 8/38. So he dropped 8 counters on that thing from his prior Golden Sidekick, which is impressive. One thing I didn't realize about the Wall of Bossing Say is it even made like his lands indestructible. It's all permanents. So... and then a 12/13 Rabbit that's normally a 1/2. In fact, I thought about conceding, but I figured I'd just play it out and let him have the win, in case he wants to be recording it or whatever. Or more importantly, I guess, in case he has, I need to attack with creatures or etc. If he's working on his dailies, I figured I'd give him the ability for it. And Elspeth, which he can basically just take the counter and kill my creature, which he did. So that was game, but with that I just kind of called it. I found reviewing the video insightful, and I hope it wasn't, I guess, too boring. I look forward to playing some more Magic in the future.